Well, we find ourselves at the end of July, and I thought I would do a plant tour for you just to give you an idea of what you can expect from all your different types of carnivorous plants out here in full sunlight, and what they'll look like about this time and what you can expect throughout the rest of the year. So without further ado, there's a ton to cover, so let's get into it. All right, so first and foremost, I am starting off with the Venus flytraps as usual. Now, you could tell they don't look so great. And so the reason for this is here in Florida, we've had an unseasonably hot weather. And so because of that, those 1 gallon pots were just not doing it. And so they got very upset, and here is the result. Now, they are completely fine. They will make a full recovery. But I thought it would be a good opportunity also to try an experiment that I have seen a lot of growers do, and that is to add Osmocote pellets into the soil out of the root, out of the growth of the root. Now, I do not recommend that you do this unless you know what to look for very quickly to make a determination how to fix it. I feel really good about the results. Again, all these black traps were here prior to that move, and they are going to sulk for a little bit because of the potting during the growing season. But I will tell you that what I'm seeing is very encouraging. There's a lot of new growth coming out. All the growth is very green. If you were to do what I did, I would suspect a lot of the growth to be twisted, and the plants to be very, even though they don't look great now, be in a lot worse conditions. And so I feel very good about the way it's going. I did not do this with my cultivars. I wanted to try it with the typicals first, just to see how it would do. There are some cultivars that got into it, like the La Grossa Agigi, but it's making a full comeback. There's a lot of new growth coming out, so very excited to see it. Again, not something I recommend you do if you are new to carnivorous plants, but something I thought I would give a try. And so I did it with this as well. And again, all those black traps are due to the not only did I put them in larger pots, but I did those Osmocotes. The larger pots are also going to help. These 3 gallon pots are going to keep temperatures of the soil far more regulated. You can already tell even the Sarracenia that are in here are reacting very well to those pellets. Again, like, look at this beauty. Isn't she gorgeous? This is not something I would recommend you do unless you know specifically what you're looking for. But see here how we have all this new growth coming out. Those are all good signs. You just have to be very careful on how and where you place the Osmocote pellets, just to avoid like sudden root burn. And so yeah, let's look at the here. I have not done this, like I said, with the cultivars. These are all giant forms. Now, giant forms are amazing. They're great, but because they have so much of that surface area, if you will, they tend to not like the heat nearly as much. Now, they'll be just fine, but as you can see here, this is a good sign of burn from, oop, that could be a plant. This is a good sign of burn from overheat exposure. See this right here, how tall? Oh, that one's got a bug in it, that's why. But they're all going to be just fine. They don't look their best, but as fall is approaching, they're going to start losing these spring traps anyways, and so they're going to be doing much better here. This happens every year here in Florida. Admittedly, with it getting hotter and hotter, I'm going to have to take some precautions moving forward because it is getting worse and worse. And so I may end up having to put some sort of system in place to prevent them from getting full blazing sun. And some of them do better than others. Like this is supposed to be super vigorous, and it is not happy at all with the sunlight the way it is. Now, when I say heat, sunlight, they love a lot of sunlight. The problem is we're getting searing heat. Temperatures on a daily average hitting 105 to 110, and that for weeks on end, months on end, is not conducive for Venus flytraps. Now, they will do fine. They're just not going to look their best, as you can see. But as we cool off here and we're getting into the season where we have a lot more overcast days, they certainly will respond in turn. So more to come on that. And again, these two is a big old science project that I thought I would do, and we'll look at it together to see what happens. But from what I'm seeing, it's been about 3.5 weeks now. I'm very excited with what I'm seeing. I'm not concerned. I know it's tough to see that and think, well, look at all those black traps, shouldn't you be concerned? But again, those were there, and that was due to just being in too small of pots. And so with the up size in pots, considerably 3 times larger, and with the Osmocote, I think we'll give them a good start. And again, I may end up making a video once it's all dialed in about what we did there, about what I did there. But I don't recommend doing it unless you know specifically what to look for. I also know we're in a very, very heavy rainy season right now, and so we're getting just inundated with rain in the afternoons, which also is a stress for Venus flytraps. But it's good for when you have Osmocote pellets in your soil, as it will wash it out much faster. If we were in a drier part of the season, I would not have done it at all, but I will let you know how it goes. All right, I always feel like there's just not enough time to spend on every single one, but we're going to go over to the other types of temperate plants, the Sarracenia, the filiformis, and let's look at those. So if you remember correctly, about I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, again, the same thing with the Venus flytraps. I had noticed that the Sarracenia were starting to show stress signs from being in too small of pots in this heat. Now, it's never been this hot here in Florida, so this has been a learning opportunity for me as well. And so I decided, instead of up potting, I was going to transition everything over to basically these mini bogs, which is just a swimming pool full of peat moss and perlite, and that has paid dividends. So you can tell everything was producing Phyllodia, which this is a Leucophila heavy hybrid. So actually, this is a actual Leucophila. So that's pretty normal for this time of year, but I could also see signs of stress. And so I treated them just to make sure that they are safe from any pests, and then I up potted them, and that's made a huge difference. Here we have a beautiful Leucophila that has just come up and opened, simply gorgeous. And then we have what has to be, it's a Morii for sure. It's got very, very fine, there's a plane going over, let that go over. It's got very, very fine amount of Leucophila in there, but there's some other stuff in there as well. That is exploded. By the way, this is only a year-old seedling. Isn't that nuts? Let's see if I come around here. I planted some Venus flytraps in here as well, just to see how that would go, and they have done fantastic. Everything loves it in here. Now, I will say, if you do take this route, you will be pulling a lot of weeds. Weeds, uh-oh, you don't want to pull the whole plant. This particular weed right here gets really in there, and it very much intertwines with the Sarracenia roots. But there's other things in here, like this is a companion plant known as blue-eyed grass, and so it's in the iris family. Here is a bog violet right there, and then down there is a dormant bog orchid. Let's see. Then I transitioned everything here. Now, this is just about 100% peat moss, and I did that for a couple reasons. One is cost, but the other thing is what I wanted to plant in here was a lot more very bog heavy, very water loving plants, and so I transitioned my purpurea in here. Got a weed that's all up in there. I transitioned my purpurea in here, my psittacina, but then I also added my Mitchellana, And then there's a bug bat. And so it is trying to get acclimated, but here's some of the bug bat pictures, doing just fine. And so I'm very excited to see how this is going to react. Now, normally you're gonna want to have 50-50 peat moss and perlite, but these are very, very bog loving. I don't know the exact term you'd want to use, but they love a very soupy mix, and so they will do just fine. As a matter of fact, it's probably better for them. And so I'm excited to see how this goes. I did not put nearly as many holes in this, because I want it to be on the wetter side, and so we will see how these go. I may end up moving my scarlet bell over here too. And so this one is what I've decided is going to be the filiformis, other than the tracei, which I've got to wait till they go dormant to untangle. But I've got a ton of filiformis here. I put all the Florida reds here because they do self-seed, and I want them to make a little patch here. This is the Californica, which reacted very well to the transplant. Here's a bug bat that's trying to get used to things, and a Leucophila. Now, Leucophila is going to like this condition pretty well, and I wanted to have a little bit of, not just all tracei, but these little Florida red little babies that are popping up. Florida red, by the way, is a great plant to get. It's a smaller filiformis, that's about as big as it gets, about 6 inches tall, but it is fantastic. Over here, I did the same thing, but with Bonata. And so Bonata looks pretty bad when you transplant it. It lays down quite a bit, but it will be back up in no time. But it is very grumpy. And so I've got all my Bonata. This one right here, for whatever reason, has decided to have a good attitude, but the rest of them, they are very grumpy. I put a Radiri in here, and then I just a basic hybrid. And there's some that seedlings that have just come with the Bonata, but just planted the Bonata in here, and so this is going to fill out. It'll look very similar to this. Here's my other Bonata. I don't know if you remember the start of the year how this was completely empty, and now it is jam-packed full of Bonata. I'm gonna have to figure out something to do with all these things. They grow so fast. And here's, I think, what's some of the coolest stuff. This bog here is full of trigger plant, Stylidium debile, and you can see it's starting to flush out flowers. Remember when I told you at the beginning of this that it didn't look like much, but it would start to flower, and it holds its flowers for a long time. And so you can see over here, I'll go over there in a minute, but it is definitely doing its thing. And oddly enough, Capensis is doing very well as well, which is interesting. Now, it has been very overcast, but Capensis, you're probably thinking, how is that interesting? It's a bulletproof plant. Now, it is a bulletproof plant unless you live in Florida. They do not like the searing, blazing heat, and that is all we've had to offer this year. Like I said, 104, 105 to 110 every day heat index. And so what I have found, and I'm probably going to transition to this completely, is that this Stylidium debile is an amazing ground cover. And so if we come over here, you can see it growing. Not only does it add an absolute beauty in as far as color and the sort of understory of beautiful flowers, but it really helps to control the temperature and the water evaporation of all these plants. This is probably the best looking bog in terms of stress. It's very much in the heat, just like the rest of them, but that Stylidium debile does an amazing job of controlling the temperature. And so all I've literally been doing, I've only bought, believe it or not, I only bought one Stylidium debile plant. And so everything you see in this giant thing here, all these, and then everywhere else is all from one. And they grow incredibly fast. I also have some bog lettuce that I put in here. I believe that's the name of it, just to fill out the water areas to help keep evaporation down. Scarlet Bell has recovered nicely. If you remember a couple months ago, it had scale, and I used 3-in-1, and it has done very, very well coming back. We've got some different plants in here. You've got like a Leucophila morii kind of thing. You got another hybrid that looks like it's got some minor or something in it, which is very nice. This is the backside of all those panatas. This one is, oh, we got a beautiful, beautiful Leucophila, very white top there. This one is coming back pretty nice. The leucos are starting to fill in pretty nicely. Very leuco heavy in here. Stylidium debile is making some of its marks. I've got a bog violet growing there, and I've got my blue-eyed grass here. And so my hope is, if I can keep everything filled with bog companion plants, it will help regulate the soil considerably. And we even have a Madagascariensis growing down there. Isn't that amazing? That plant was all but dead, and now it's making a comeback. There's a beautiful patch of leuco babies. And here, I just watered yesterday, so all this is laying down. We've got some bog violet growing in there. And this is, remember I planted this pot, if you watch my videos, and I said it wouldn't be very long and this thing would be completely full? Well, I wasn't lying. There's hardly any ground left. I said it would be the end of the season, but here we are a little over halfway through the season, and it is almost completely filled in, and I haven't added anything to it other than these Sarracenia. There's old Venus flytraps in here too, but yep. And one of my favorite views, pardon the mess, I'm still repotting everything, is coming out here and seeing all these bonata in the morning flowering. It's such a beautiful sight. But yeah, here's all these plants, these bogs. My plan is eventually, in addition to all these tubs, is I'm going to put an in-ground bog, and so that'll be nice, and keep growing these Sarracenia, or excuse me, Drosera out. I want to have another probably 10 or so pools of just the Drosera, and then really get into Sarracenia a lot more. These seedlings are coming up nicely. There's several hundred in here total, not just in this one bog, but we shall see how it goes. This I still haven't figured out. This is the ugly duckling. It's got a lot of filiformis in it. It's got some errant Sarracenia in it. It's got a lot of weeds in it, but it's also got just a lot of utricularia down there. And so I haven't really decided what I'm going to do with this yet. I'm probably going to transition it, just like everything else, over to the bogs, because I'm finding in Florida that is the best route. I'm not going to do that with the Venus flytraps, again, just because it's a little bit easier to, I don't know, I may end up doing it, I don't know, but probably not anytime soon. Maybe over the next couple of years I might transition them to their own separate bogs so I can control the water level a bit better. But yeah, there's just a really quick overview of all the plants. I hope you've enjoyed this very quick look at all the plants. Some are doing great, some aren't, and that's okay. That's part of the growing experience, right? Venus flytraps especially will have on again, off again seasons. Sometimes they'll do explode in growth in a season, and sometimes they'll just sort of hang out. And so the thing is to not expect exponential growth every year, right? Growth and growth and growth, but understand that they have ebbs and flows. They have good years, they have bad years, just like humans do. And the idea at the end of the day is keep them healthy. A plant like a Venus flytrap, the singular plant, will live 20 years. And so you got plenty of time to enjoy them. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's brought you a little bit of peace, a little bit of fun, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.